My name is Shelley Robinson, and I'm the Executive Director of National Capital FreeNet. So I think a lot of things need to change now for digital equity now and for digital equity in the future. So some of the most important things that I think need to change, one is an awareness. So I do feel like COVID has meant that people are more aware of the digital divide and what that meant for folks. So when everybody had to do school and home, work from home, then all of a sudden it became apparent that some people didn't have connections at home at all, or didn't have strong enough connections so that they could use those services. So, but I think that we still are kind of casually, just like everybody has internet. And so I think we need to really understand that not everybody does and what the barriers are. And I think that that's access. Some folks just don't have high enough speeds available in their communities. And then there's also affordability. So I think that understanding is number one. Two is that I think we need to have a nationally subsidized internet for those who are living on low incomes. I think we just need to treat it as a right and therefore make sure that everyone is connected. And for those who can't afford it, that means that we'll subsidize the cost. And I think that we need to increase our investment in rural and remote communities, but I think that we want to do that not just by continuing to give money to the biggest telecom players, but investing in communities so they can develop their own solutions that can help connect their communities. And I think that we need kind of regulatory awareness of the challenges around digital equity. And so I think that we need regulations that account for that. So again, for me, that would mean that we have a better wholesale pricing regime, which means that you can have a whole bunch of different kinds of ISPs, some which are community-based like NCF, some which are the big incumbent players who own all their own infrastructure, some which are smaller regional players, and then municipalities and cooperatives, all kinds of different models. And I think good regulation could really foster that kind of ecosystem. So I think the next generation needs to build in diversity from the start. I think that we've been terrible about that. So we have all these systemic biases and we just replicate them in our technology. So I'd like to think that the next generation is going to be better at that, and that then the outcomes will be better. And then part of that also from an equity perspective is that we're taking the kind of lived experience and different barriers that folks have into consideration when we're developing those new technologies. And then I'd also like us to get better at privacy and better at transparency and better at community ownership, not as the only model. I mean, I love community-based organizations, obviously, but I don't think we have a strong enough place in the ecosystem now. So there is a place for big tech, but we don't want big tech overlords. You know, we want big tech, then we want sort of, regional tech or national tech, and then we also want community-based tech or micro tech. So I think that the next generation has a real shot at making that happen. So yeah, my specific advice to NCF or whoever is in charge and running NCF 10 years from now is, I think we have so much strength in the way we started. We started as this deeply grassroots, community-built organization that was built on enthusiasm and kind of this neighbors helping neighbors kind of model of connectivity. And I would like to think, it's not that we're not there now, but I think the technology, the way we're doing it now is a step removed from that. And I think that community networks and having that where people are helping build antennas and installing wireless access points. And, there's workshops with teens, as we've seen in other communities, where they, are able to train folks to learn how to do these things themselves. I really love the people are physically handling the tech and the connectivity and learning about the internet. So, often we think about tech as a kind of as a consumer or as a download, right? And so the metaphor of like, yes, it's great that there's so many great things we can download, but I think NCF and our membership in 10 years could play a much stronger role in a kind of upload frame, which is just like, what can we do that we can share, that we can build, that we can kind of grow together? So I'd like to say, let's just kind of harness that even more over the next 10 years. Back to the future.